You know who it is, and you know what time it is. Time to piss off some feminists, trad cucks, and whoever don't want to know the truth. Oh well, let's get started.
What is going on, gents? It's R.P.M here, reporting from Mobile Command. Gentlemen, it is time for a good old-fashioned rant. And I got a couple of topics that I really want to get into, that I've been looking further behind the scenes with. Now let's go ahead and start with the first topic, and that would be California's revocation of 17,000 CDLs, which, in my humble opinion, represents a major opportunity. And I'm going to explain later. Now let's go ahead and jump into a quick article. Transportation Secretary revokes 17,000 California issued CDLs. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy revoked 17,000 commercial driver's licenses that were found to have been illegally issued in the state of California. Ah, yes, gentlemen. Now, we all have seen the unfortunate footage of Americans who unfortunately lost their lives because of illegals who were illegally issued CDLs. Now, let me go ahead and start with this. In my humble opinion, any trucking company found to be hiring illegals should be fined heavily. Enough to make their pockets hurt, but not enough to put them out of business. Any DMV that has been found to be illegally issuing CDLs to illegals, all personnel involved should be fired. Now, there was actually a story of a black woman who actually found out that members in her DMV were actually illegally issuing CDLs to pretty much illegal immigrants. She actually blew the whistle on that, and she was fired. Man, no good deed truly goes unpunished. She followed the rules, she did what she was supposed to do, and she was made to be punished. But yeah. Now, there was an interview that was done with a Hispanic woman who was in a trucking licensing business. Now, what she said was something that really perked my ears up. Something that a lot of people should have been like, oh, wait a minute, hold up, this is false. Now, what she said was pretty much she gave up the ghost. The reason why their business pretty much gets non-citizens through the door with CDLs faster is because Americans don't want these jobs. And they don't want it to hurt their bottom line. Now, I'm going to go ahead and focus solely on the whole Americans don't want this job phrase. And I'm going to go into pretty much my humble opinion of the history behind that. Because make no mistakes, that is something that Democrats love to say. They've said it blatantly. Who's going to pick your fruit? Who's going to clean your toilets? Right? Now, just a little bit of a sidetrack. Look at what's going on in North Carolina. Yeah. So many cleaning businesses have not showed up. There was an entire restaurant that was shut down. There have been tweets and news articles about the number of children, primarily of Hispanic heritage, not showing up in schools. Now, anybody with common sense would say if you are a naturalized citizen or you are already born here, you would have no problems. But we all know that that constitutes the anchor baby theory. Yeah, a lot of illegals come over here. They have a child. That child is automatically a citizen, which hopefully Trump has gotten rid of birthright citizenship, which is something that was actually meant for black people. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, a lot of these anchor babies are saying, oh, we don't want to be separated from our parents. Well, you know what? Sorry. You got to go right along with them. But yeah, that is definitely another topic for another time. Now, going back to the whole Americans don't want these jobs narrative. Now, I'm going to be pretty frank with you. I have no knowledge of the trucking industry or the CDL industry. So if you are a CDL holder, please sound off in the comment section. However, I do always recognize patterns. Now, when it comes to any business that hires primarily illegals over Americans, the thought process is, oh, these Americans don't want these jobs. However, that's not the case. See, Americans understand their value, and they're not going to be willing to be underpaid. Yeah. So that's the first thing. There's two parts to this. So this is the first. Americans are not going to accept low pay, period. We got minimum wage laws for a reason. Now, as opposed to illegals, they're willing to work for less. And of course, for a lot of businesses, that's attractive. Oh, we get to pay them less. They don't know their rights, so we can pretty much screw them however we want, as opposed to an American who knows their rights, who will say, nope, this is not good. Litigation time. Yeah. And most illegals are not willing to go to litigation. So that, in my humble opinion, is the first part. Now for the second part, the more insidious part. Society's programming. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you have to understand, society programmed a lot of people with what I'm going to call one of the worst thought processes ever. The idea that if you are not college educated, you are not seen as successful. That is something that is so damning. However, we're seeing the consequences of that mindset. Yeah. As you guys know, I've done plenty of videos on the more than 7 million men who've walked away from the labor market. Why? Well, first and foremost, these men understand that they are not respected, especially blue-collar men understand that they are not respected. Why? Well, once again, another part of the social programming was programming women and weaponizing their hypergamy. Yeah. As we all know, back in the old days, when women were not in the labor force, a man could make a single salary to support a family, an entire family. Many men went to work at the factory, went to work as plumbers, and they had good, stable lives. However, the college push, especially pushing women through college, then you had colleges become openly hostile to men, and yet women still saying, well, since I have a degree, then a man has to have a degree too. Yeah, yeah. Even though they have degrees, they never talk about their student debt. How much debt did they rack up to get that degree? Yeah. And we all know that the loudest group of women talking about their degrees is black women. Oh, yeah, we got our degrees, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Even though they love to hang on to the old disproven trope that they're the most educated group of women, which we all know is false, but it's Asian women. But yeah, they're going to keep holding on to that, and society wants them to hold on to that. Why? Because it creates more division in the black community. Once again, another topic for another time. But yes, women constantly shitted on blue collar men, even though when you look at blue collar men, they actually have way less debt to income. And a lot of them are making a hell of a lot more money than college graduates. But once again, weaponized hypergamy. Women don't see blue collar men as valuable because the status. Yeah. Women want men to be status symbols to compete against other women. Think about it. Woman says, oh, my man's a plumber. What are her girlfriends going to say? Ew, he's a loser. My man's an influencer, or my man's a CEO. Yeah. But yeah, that is part of social programming. However, now we're seeing the fallout of a lot of men saying, you know what? Society's collapsing. We don't have enough skilled tradesmen. Uh-oh. Yeah, that was one of the most damaging thought processes ever put into the American mindset. But fortunately, there are some young men who are deciding, yes, I'm going back into the trades, or I'm going into the trades. Why? Because I want a stable job that's going to be in demand. Hell, my own son is talking about getting into plumbing. And when he said that to me, I shed a tear of joy. I did. Why? Because I know if he goes into plumbing, he is going to be set. Even his mother agreed. She was like, yep. He's always fixing the toilets. He's always, fiddling around with the pipes. I'm like, good. But I know pretty much he picked it up from me. Because when we were living together, I was always fixing stuff around the house. So he watched. But yeah, I said, yes, son, do it. As a matter of fact, when you go to early graduation, I got an associate that's a master plumber that I'm going to put you in contact with. See how he can help you. But yeah, the blue collar man, the truck driver, disrespected. But I see this as an opportunity. With all of these, CDLs being revoked, there should be men lining up to fill in the gap. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look into getting a CDL, at least a CLP, a commercial learner's permit, at least that. That way, when I leave California and I go back to my home state, I can at least have the basis to say, okay, yes, I want to pursue having a CDL and driving from my home state. Hopefully, I'm not too old at 50. But once again, if you are a CDL holder, please sound off in the comment section and drop any advice that you would have for me looking into this, and that will be greatly appreciated. Now, I want to get into the second topic that I want to talk about, that I really have taken a look in and said, okay, why? Women saying that they want to leave America. Oh, gentlemen, this is going to be a good one. A recent Gallup poll indicated a portion of American women, particularly those aged 15 to 44, express a desire to permanently leave the United States, with political dissatisfaction and low confidence in national institutions cited as key factors, along with a perceived lack of safety. And guess where these women want to go? Canada. That is hilarious. Of all the places that they want to go, Canada is the top destination. Now, why is that? Why? Because Canada is more Americanized than other countries. However, I saw a recent short that came at the perfect time. There was a suggestion by this guy, and I think this is a great suggestion as well. The 1-for-1 citizen swap. Now, before I go into this, last year, November of last year, I made a video, and that video was entitled, "What's Keeping You Here? Go, Leave." And it was the same topic. So many women saying, oh, I want to leave America. Well, what's keeping you here? Nothing. There are not armed guards at America's borders saying, hey, you got to stay. No, if anything, you'll be doing the rest of society a favor by leaving. Now, to the 1-to-1 citizen trade. This guy said Trump should enact this, the 1-to-1 citizen trade, for all the people, not just women, pro-blacks, people, anybody who's dissatisfied with America. They should have a list of countries to say, okay, if you are so dissatisfied with this country, every ism that you say America has, fascism, racism, sexism, all of these isms that you say America practices, okay, here's a list of countries. You pick one. We'll contact that country. Hey, do you have a citizen that wants to come here the right way, who's willing to go through the entire immigration process legally? Well, yes. Okay. 1-to-1 trade. Male to male, female to female. All right, cool. Let's do this. Let's make this trade. Now, of course, if something like this were to be put into practice, what would be the first thing that these people would say? Well, I can't afford to leave. Here's what the genius of the plan. Give that person $10,000 and a one-way ticket to their country of choice. However, as soon as that person gets on that plane, their United States citizenship is automatically renounced. You can kill two birds with one stone. Think about it. You get people who actually want to come here legally, and you get rid of people who say that the United States is so bad, it's so terrible. Cool. Everybody wins. Now, of course, we know the usual suspects, liberal women, mostly white women, but there have been a few black women who've put out videos as well saying that they want to leave. Cool. Nobody is keeping you here. America is so bad, yet so many people are literally offlining themselves trying to get here. Talk about entitlement. But yeah, that should be a grand plan. The 1-for-1 exchange. You give us a citizen that wants to be here, we'll give you a citizen that doesn't want to be here. Bam! There you go. Now, of course, when it comes to these women, of course they would choose Canada. You don't see these women saying they want to go to Afghanistan, do you? They don't want to go to a Muslim country. No. They would choose Canada, the UK, Australia, Sweden. However, more and more of these countries have pretty much fallen to the wayside with their own immigration policies. But all in all, that's neither here nor there. I still find it hilarious that these women are proclaiming that America is so bad. People always say America is so bad. Okay, if it's so bad, why don't you leave? Give up your spot to somebody who wants to be here. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. That's right. Because of the comfort that allows you to be so disrespectful to the country. The whole no kings, protest. I laughed my ass off when I saw that. Why? We don't want any kings. If Trump really was a king, then guess what? The people who would be out there protesting, they would be put in the gulag. Some of them might have been just simply, executed in the streets. Once again, showing the absolute lack of brain power that a lot of people in America have. But ultimately, hey, I'm going to ask the question again. What's keeping you here? Well, I've rambled on long enough. For the CDL holders, once again, sign, hey, let me know what's going on. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section. And for the women that really want to leave America, you better understand this. You better understand this crystally clear. The American social power that's been granted to you, which is false, by the way, that will not go over in other countries. So that power will go out. Feminism that you enjoy over here in America that allows you to be disrespectful to men and society, yeah, when you get to that other country, that's going to go out right along with it, especially when you go to a non-Western country. And with that being said, once again, if you don't like it here, what's keeping you here? And for the CDL drivers, yeah, this is an opportunity. Get in, get those CDLs, and hey, let's see what happens. That's all I got to say for this one. R.P.M. I am